actual substance. It affects it on spiritual, physical, and mental levels, as well as just the laboratory process. So you're affecting all three levels at one time. That's why Hermes, one of the ancient forefathers of alchemy, was called Hermes Trismegistus, because Trismegistus means 3 times great, meaning he had the knowledge and adepthood of all 3 kingdoms, the physical, the mental, and spiritual levels, and brought those all to bear on this process of evolution. So evolution is physical and mental and spiritual, all combined.
A lot of people are really into the astrology aspect.
Well, astrology has been called the sister science of alchemy. They really grew up together. Astrology goes back at least as far as alchemy, back in time. And so they have had this close association and relationship forever, basically, because the alchemists speak in terms of celestial correspondence. Like I mentioned, gold and the sun, silver and the moon are connected. Each of the different metals, in fact, everything has an association with celestial energies. They are a reflection. The macrocosm and the microcosm are inseparably united. The macrocosm being, the stellar influences, the planets, the sun and the moon. These are reflected in the microcosm, in us. We have a reflection of those energies within us. And in fact, everything has a reflection with different astronomical or celestial correspondences. So everything has, in a sense, its birth chart. And so it has a combination of celestial influences, which gives it its character, its nature. And so, for example, gold, we talked about the qualities of gold as being incorruptible and filled with light and warmth. It's associated with the sun, the life giver, and the incorruptible source of all life on earth, really.
Right.
Each of the other metals or materials have association with planets. So, for example, the metal copper is associated with Venus. And it also has a reflection in our kidneys and the venous system of our blood circulation. All of these are reflections of the same type of energy in the macrocosm and the microcosm. And they come together as one energy, basically. So astrology also provides a guidance or kind of a map that the alchemist can use, because, as I mentioned, the alchemist follows nature's path, and we can see the cycles of nature all the time. The yearly cycle of seasons, the monthly lunar cycle, the cycle of tides. These are all tied together, and the alchemist sought to tap into those energies. So he would begin works, he would plan works around these types of cycles. So, if you were going to, for example, distill something, distillation is where you heat a liquid up, for example, and the vapors go up and then condense and then come back down as a liquid that's been purified, made better. In a sense. So this process of volatilizing and drawing up these vapors is mirrored in the moon cycles. So as the moon is waxing towards full, it has this influence, a magnetic kind of power to draw things up, like it draws the tides. So the alchemist would wait for a waxing moon, for example, to do a distillation or a sublimation, as opposed to the waning moon, when the moon is kind of wasting away and dissolving and turning into dark matter. The alchemists would wait for those periods to do things like the calcination, burning off impurities, and doing processes of fermentation, another alchemical process. Fermentation is where something is left to putrefy and go bad. And during this process, the spiritual essence is released from its body, in a sense. So it dies and kind of gives up the ghost. And the alchemist would be right there to capture that ghost and spirit. It's all part of the alchemical process. So if an alchemist were working on, say, iron, a process involving iron, he would wait for a cycle when Mars was very well disposed, and would tap into this kind of a martial current to help assist his processes on iron, which is related to Mars. Whereas if he were going to work on silver, he would wait for some propitious moment of lunar cycles to involve himself in that type of work.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So it's all a clockwork involving astrology, and the alchemist would pick times which would help him. It's kind of like sailing a boat. I mean, you can sail against the wind, and it takes a lot more work,
right.
Or you can wait until the wind comes around and sail with the wind. So the alchemist would wait for the right wind and then use that to help him, guide him along, and progress his work a little faster.
I see. So it would be really beneficial in our larger corporations if they were to bring an alchemist in and to spend some time, it sounds
yes,
like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To better understand and when to bring forward their ideas for business.
Yeah, and each type of idea has its astrological correspondence. So if you were dealing with, like I said, domestic issues, people at work, have problems with child care, or other domestic problems, they would wait for a time when the moon was well disposed. As opposed to some larger corporate decision, they may wait until the sun comes around to some very good aspect. During a period, maybe they're making decisions on machinery or some mechanical processes. Those are martial influenced things. So maybe they would wait until Mars came around to a good aspect, and they would gain insight from this martial influence going on at the time. And each person, each individual employee, has their own mixture of these astrological influences. That's why you can read somebody's birth chart and it's quite different from somebody else's birth chart, right, because they're all influenced by the astrological essences in a different way. So corporations could benefit from knowing what the employees' birth charts are, right, and recommending they take vacations during certain certain dangerous times or other situations as arise that fit that particular employee. Everyone's a little bit different, and
right,
and alchemy addresses that. That's why it's so holistic, because it looks at each individual individually as a unique blend of energies, and addresses their unique blend of energies as the individual.
Oh, that's fantastic. Robert, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Our time is up, but I would really encourage each of you to go out and pick up his book.
I do have a copy, yeah.
If you could show our audience.
This is Real Alchemy. It's available through lulu.com. And there's a second book called The Way of the Crucible, which I'm doing a final editing on now, and it will be available sometime around January.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we'll look forward to that book coming out in January as well. Thank you so much for joining us today.